might be live. Let's pull up that chat and see what we got. Well, hello, Claire. Is that you already? Holy cow. Yeah, having a pretty okay day so far. It's hard to have a truly terrible day when you're out digging dinosaurs, I suppose. Hope you're having a good day too, Claire. Dreamt, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Dr. Tara, welcome. Hello to you. Dr. Irrefutable, Jim, Lady Lara Croft. It is windy today, Claire Burr. I was actually debating whether I should stream at all. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But yeah, the wind is, well, it's wind today. It's going to be worse tomorrow, and yeah, Wyoming is very windy for the most part, and you're experiencing some of that right now. But yeah, Paleo Mom, how are you doing, Mom? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a good day. Howdy, howdy. Can hear you very okay. Okay, good, Dreamt. I am glad that is the case. Excellent. Yeah, I've got a big fuzzy, windbreak on the mic, a wind weasel, so hopefully that's doing its job. Yeah. Welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. Holy cow. If it's your first time here, or if you're watching later on YouTube or something, it's great to have you. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here in the wilds of western Wyoming, digging up some dinosaurs right now, in the late Cretaceous Almond Formation with my crew here. So they're just around the corner. We're at the same place we were yesterday, continuing to work on the same dinosaur, what's almost certainly a new species of duckbill dinosaur. Yeah, there's not too much new to show you today. I'm not gonna make any promises about anything super new and exciting. Still digging at the same limb bone. I think it might be a tibia now. It might not actually be a femur. But yeah. Anyway. And no, I'm not live on YouTube 573. I'm partnered on Twitch, so I can only stream on Twitch. I can't stream on YouTube at the same time. But yeah. Swims with Whales, how are you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So I did bring some visual aids. Maybe I'll show you those in a little bit. Maybe we'll poke around and look for some fossils over here too. But yeah, I'm hoping this will be a Q&A heavy stream. So if anybody's got any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I think that'll be kind of the bread and butter of today's stream. So yeah. But yeah, Dreamt says I'm going to show your stream to my youngest kid. He loves dinosaurs. Great. Yeah. Very few people have ever seen a live dinosaur dig before. You are some of the first, everybody. So yeah. Oh, and Paleo Mom says, why do you think it's different? We don't actually have enough of the bones to be able to tell that it's different based on the shape of the bones or anything. It's entirely based on we're working in rocks that nobody has named any dinosaurs from before. So this is an unexplored time and place. And we know that dinosaurs evolve pretty quickly. And so the chances that this is a dinosaur that we already know about, very, very slim. Most likely this is going to be something new, which is why it's so exciting. That's why we're here, is because this formation is largely unexplored when it comes to dinosaurs, except for when Barnum Brown came through here in 1937. And if you guys want, maybe I'll read you a little passage from his biography about when he was working here in western Wyoming in the Almond Formation. He almost died during that. In fact, the local newspaper reported that he had died, that he'd been killed in a flash flood. Wasn't true, but he did kind of barely make it out of that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And thank you, 573. I appreciate that. Hey, thanks for being here. Yeah. Good stuff. And again, I'm hoping the wind isn't too bad. Let me give you another peek at this landscape here. There is the Starlink up there with that dish and the router. Here we are. I will not stand in front of it this time and block the signal, because that caused an interruption on yesterday's stream. Hey Lenina, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. And the wind isn't that bad? Glad to hear it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So again, Starlink, router, and I might even, if it continues to be sunny like this, we might even plug in the solar panel to the solar generator there. I don't know, we've been having all these clouds passing through, dropping a little bit of rain here and there, a lot of cloud cover. I haven't been able to actually charge the solar generator very much at all today because it's been so cloudy. It's nice because it keeps things cool, but I don't know, I'd rather have things be hot and be able to charge the battery. I'd put up with that for sure. Sons of Wales says, thanks for sharing this with us. Been so educational and interesting. I appreciate that, Wales. Thanks for saying so. That's the whole point, so I'm glad you appreciate that. Yeah. And Zintaus, thank you for the 20 months of support. That is excellent. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me here on the air. Yeah. And look out for lizards, says Tommy Ploticus. There have been far fewer lizards today just because it's been so cloudy. They've been real sluggish, I'm sure. Yesterday they were zipping around all over the place. Today, not many lizards to speak of. Yeah. But who knows? If we get some more sun like this, we might get some more lizards. Yeah. And 573 says, this is the coolest channel on here. I try to catch your streams and most just listen and learn so I can keep up with my 5-year-old nephew. He loves dinosaurs. You're in the right place for that. Holy cow. Yeah. You can tell him you saw a brand new kind of dinosaur being dug up today. Most likely brand new. Here, I gotta tighten up my wrist strap here because this thing is... Stand by, everybody. There we go. Much better. Yeah, I haven't seen any tarantulas yet, Groove Punk, no. Nor any scorpions, although those... Apparently there are a lot of scorpions around here. But there was a camel spider, let's see, a few days ago that Fisher saw. And a Jerusalem cricket and, some other cool arthropods for sure. Yeah. And... Oh, and let's see, first time chat from Rinrun. Thank you, Claire Burr, for reposting that. Is the land you're on publicly accessible? Can anyone just walk up there and start digging for bones? No. It is publicly accessible, but it is federal land, and in the United States, you need a permit to dig dinosaur fossils on federal land. So that would be very much illegal, and that would be what we call poaching. If, you just come out here without a permit or anything and just dig stuff up. That would be very bad. Because, these fossils are very scientifically important, especially here in the Almond Formation. There have not been any dinosaurs named from this one rock unit representing this particular time and place. So these rocks are about 73 million years old, and we don't have any dinosaurs from 73 million years old in this part of the world. So anything we find here is going to be new. So, yeah, if people were coming through here and just picking up bits of dinosaur bone as souvenirs, it would be really difficult to actually find skeletons that are eroding out of the ground, and we could be sunk, So yeah, that's why it's important to, to follow the law and this sort of thing. But yeah. And Zintaus says, I feel like a bunch of those rocks behind you could have fossils in them. I mean, they do, Zintaus. They absolutely do. And many of the ones down here also do. Let's poke around down here a little bit. And we might pick up some of the same fossils that we looked at yesterday, but we've got a different audience in part from yesterday, so let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah. Yep, here's one that we looked at yesterday. So this is, I'm guessing, some turtle right here. Although, I don't know, it could be part of a vertebrate, potentially. But yeah, there's some bone right there. And make sure to put that right next to the cairn. Got some more down here too. We've got some really nice chunks down here. There we are. Yeah. This is bone right there. See that distinctive texture? See those pits right here and right here? And then you look at the internal structure, and there you go. You've got that kind of bony weave through there. Yeah. A cortical bone on the outside, and then you've got the interior of the bone right there. Yeah, this is probably from more of our duckbill dinosaur from around the corner. Yeah. And let's see. L Bunny says, are you using some flag system to know where the ones you found? Well, we've got these cairns that Fisher made, so just stacking up rocks right here to make sure that we don't misplace these or lose them. There's some more bone right here. This might be part of a neural spine or a transverse process, so these could be like the wings or the tall spine thing that comes off of the vertebrae, the bones in the along the spinal column, or this could be part of a rib, although to me the texture looks more like, it looks more vertebral to me right here. So I think this is probably part of a vertebral, yeah, probably a neural spine coming right off the top of a vertebra. And here's one of those vertebrae right here. It's broken along the edge, but see how it's kind of big and, you know, it almost looks like the top of a circle right here. Well, the centrum, the vertebral body, is kind of circular, and you see this kind of little canyon right there. That is where the spinal cord would go through. That's the neural canal right there on this vertebra. And this is actually one of the biggest hadrosaur vertebrae I've ever seen. Part of it's broken off, so you can't really see how big it would be, but just based on this piece, that's pretty big. It's a large animal. Pretty cool. A human vertebra, or even just the vertebral centrum by contrast, be about that big. And so this thing would be like that. Almost like a small dinner plate. Yeah. So, big animal. Big animal. Yeah. Let's see. Acorn says, what percentage do you think you will find, or how much do you find on average? It depends. It really, really depends. Sometimes you find something close to a complete skeleton, and sometimes it's just some isolated elements. Here, we're not even sure how many animals we have. So these pieces that we have right here, these, bits of bone, these are from a solid, 20 or 30 feet away from the limb bones that we have over there. And that could be part of the same animal, or it could be like the same individual animal, the same, dead duckbill, or it could be multiple duckbills in there, or it could be multiple kinds of dinosaurs. We haven't really had time to dig in and figure that out yet. We're still working on that quarry over there, which I'll show you in a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, and no, we cannot DNA test these old bones. There's no DNA left. DNA is a very fragile molecule, and it doesn't even last 1 million years, let alone 73 million years. So yeah, but there's other different ways that we can study it, just not with DNA. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, good question though. Let me show you, this is my favorite piece that we found so far. Fisher showed me this yesterday. I think he found it a few days ago. This is a hoof, or I guess a claw. It's not a sharp claw, but this is the bony interior of what we call an ungule. Ungules are claws. That's the claw bone. So, whether you're a dinosaur, whether you're a modern dinosaur, a bird, whether you're a lizard or a cat, or any creature that has claws, there will be a bony core to that claw, and then it's covered by a sheath of what we call keratin. Keratin is like your fingernail material. So those of you who have cats at home, you probably see like claw sheaths sometimes that they leave around the house. That's the keratin sheath, but they've got a bony core underneath. This is that bony core for probably... Just based on the context, I would say this is from a duckbill dinosaur, but it could be from a ceratopsian. But you can see that texture there. You've got these pits here, and those are where the blood vessels would come through in order to help supply that keratin sheath with nutrients. So yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Jody Fish says, I've been waiting to ask, could the hadrosaur you found have been made a meal by the gar in the area if it died in the water prior to sediment deposition? Yes, Jody Fish, that is that's certainly possible. Yeah, I mean, yeah, gar will scavenge. They'll eat meat from critters that fall into a river or lake or whatever. We actually had a gar in the Judith River Formation, which might be redated soon, so it might be more equivalent to like Dinosaur Park Formation. Honestly, it's older. But anyway, yeah, there was a duckbill dinosaur. It was either Gripposaurus or Brachylophosaurus. I don't remember, but it was in a channel sandstone, I think. It was fairly complete, and there was a gar just basically like up its butt, like right there. I think above the ischium in the back, just a gar just going, right where the butt would be. And we think that may have been a gar that tried to swim up the dinosaur's butt after it died, like, trying to get past that tough skin, trying to get inside, be able to eat, and it got stuck and it died. That's the idea. But, yeah, not the best way to go, but left a beautiful fossil, for sure. I think it's now at Museum of the Rockies. So yeah. And Jody Fish says there were a lot of gar scales up by that femur, which is why I asked. I mean, gar scales are really common in these environments, so you find them all over the place. When you consider that an individual gar might have hundreds, if not thousands, of scales, when one of these things dies, they just go all over the place. And their gar scales are, not only are they really common, but they're also easy to find. That ganoine substance in them, the same thing that gives them that sheen, it also like makes them really distinct from the surrounding rock. So I think there might be some collection bias there too. Gar scales are more easily identifiable and picked up than other bits of little critters like that. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah. Awkward Cyborg, how are you doing? Welcome. And a gar cautionary tale for the ages, indeed. Yeah. And Acorn says, maybe this is a dumb question. No, it's not. Where are the bones, etc., up on the hill instead of down in the valley part? Well, sometimes we do find dinosaur fossils down in the valley. In fact, later this summer... Oh, there's a raven flying by. Hey, raven. That's so raven. Yeah, there's a modern dinosaur right there, everybody. Checking us out in the quarry. Yeah, later this summer we will be excavating some dinosaurs down on the valley floor in Utah. But here, it's just, I don't know. It's a chance thing. The rocks that are actually yielding dinosaur fossils, we're finding them up in the hills. And that's part of that. It's usually more likely to find them on the side of a hill or, in the wall of a canyon or something like that, just because that's what erodes faster. We find these things because they're eroding out, and you don't necessarily get as much deposition as much erosion, on the valley floor. So you're more likely to find stuff in an area where the rock is just actively being destroyed by erosion. Does that make sense? Yeah. But yeah. Any other questions? Let's see here. Hey, Golganek, how are you doing? Welcome. Yeah. Oh, any Mormon crickets? Yeah, absolutely, Miss Yvette. There have been a few. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. And yeah, Claire Burr, thank you for posting that link to the Almond Formation. If anybody's not familiar with it, nobody's familiar with the Almond Formation. But if you click that link and you go through the list, you won't see like a single named species of dinosaur on there. We've got bits and pieces of things that have been described and stuff that like we've known about for a long time, but it's not actually published properly in the literature. So that's like any dinosaur that we find here is going to be new, most likely. So yeah. But yeah. And thank you, Blue Front, for the 24 months of support. I appreciate that very much. Yeah. So yeah, let's go over and see the quarry real quick. Let's say hello to the guys. We've got Fisher and Terrence there today, just like yesterday. And the only plant from the Almond Formation is a footnote on that page. There you go, Diagonal. Yeah. It's a new frontier. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and very nice, Cirque. I hope you enjoy. Good to have you here. Yeah. Here, let's go see the quarry. Oh, there's a little beetle. Hey, little beetle. Where are you going? Almost looks like a ladybug. Ladybird beetle. Changed his mind. Come here. Hey there, little beetle guy. You hiding? I'm sorry we scared you. Let's put you back down. You can go about your business. Alright, here's our quarry up here. And so it's not going to look too different from what it did yesterday. I still think it's cool to show. There's Fisher and Terrence right there digging away. Anything new here, guys?
I just found an ossified tendon.
Oh, beautiful.
Pretty long. Unfortunately, it broke up and then the top half splintered off, but really beautiful patina on the one piece.
Look at that. Yeah, more ossified tendon. Yeah. So ossified tendon like this from a hadrosaur, it often like kind of pinches toward the edge like that. So from a ceratopsian, it'll be kind of more round in cross section. This, yeah, kind of comes to a point almost. And it's broken right here, obviously. So this part, well, no, it doesn't. I'm not sure it's broken. Might just be that shape, yeah. Yeah. So this is, again, like we were talking about yesterday, what we call ossified tendon. I think strictly speaking, it's not actually tendon. I think it's ligament. But, yeah, just like the ligaments in your body, except these turn to bone as the animal matures. Probably something to do with locomotion and keeping a stiff axial column, stiff backbone. But yeah, we find bits of this all over the place anytime we've got duckbill dinosaurs, so cool. Nice spot, Terrence.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then over here is our limb bone. I'm not as convinced as I was yesterday that this is a femur. I was digging around it earlier for like all of this morning, and this thing might turn out to be a tibia, and if it were, it would be a very, very stout tibia. But still kind of working on it. It's got this concretionary crud all over it. And, yeah, I'm hesitant to take too much of that off because I don't want to expose too much of the bone underneath because it's going to be really, really delicate. And, yeah, I'm just not going to risk it. I was hoping I could jacket this live on stream today, but a rookie mistake. I didn't bring any paper towel. I thought we had paper towel down at the site to use as separator before we put the protective jacket over on it. But we don't have any here. So this might have to wait till tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a jacketing stream early tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Let me try and look at chat. It's hard to see. Misfit says, Danny, what do you think this new dinosaur's name will be? I don't know. That's going to depend on a lot of things. Yeah. If it's a duckbill dinosaur, is it a saurolophine? Is it a lambeosaurine? Is it a critosaur? What kind of duckbill dinosaur is it? And then, I don't know. I can't speculate at all on what the name is going to be at this point. Yeah. But yeah. And let's see here. Scrolling. Bubsy says, you know how Hell Creek taxa have their own naming theme? I mean, sort of, yeah. A lot of, like, kind of Hell or Hades themed stuff. Oh, we got a lizard here. Hey, lizard. Oh. He went under the rock. Too slow. What name trend do you have in mind for the almond formation? I mean, that's not really going to be up to me. Yeah. Because I'm probably not going to be first author on any of this stuff, I presume. But I don't know. If you were to come up with a naming convention for critters from the almond, what would it be? Not sure. Not sure. Maybe something to do with the state of Wyoming. Maybe something to do with Laramidia. If anything, the naming conventions would probably, they would be what they are for these different taxonomic groups. So, like, if we find a Tyrannosaur, maybe it would be something Tyrannus. If it were, a Ceratopsian, probably something Ceratops, etc. Yeah. How many mustard bottles? I've only got 2 in camp right now, and they're in my in one of my storage trunks. We're not actually using mustard bottles yet. I'll probably be doing that more at Doling's Bowl. We've been having some weird stuff going on with the glue, and I don't know. I haven't decided to sully any of the mustard bottles yet with kind of the subpar glue that we've had. But yeah. And Wyomingensis, I mean, that's definitely possible. DDL Eric, yes. Yeah. But yeah. And there you go, in the tent, Pluckman's mustard, but yeah. I suspect I'll be using those a lot more when I'm in Utah later on in the summer, after about July 17th. I think that's when I'm heading out there. So yeah. But good stuff, and thank you for the 100 bits there, Sophie. That is excellent. Again, if anybody's got any questions, do not hesitate to ask them. Yeah. An attractive cactus says, do you have to stop the quarry if it rains a little bit? A little bit is fine. It did rain a little bit earlier and we kept working, but if it started raining pretty heavily, then we would have to cover the quarry up with a tarp. So you see we've got a tarp over there above the blue water canister. Yeah. So we lay that tarp out over the quarry when we leave at night, and yeah, that keeps everything nice and dry. It also, to our chagrin, provides a nice little place for pack rats to hang out. Let me show you what the pack rats did earlier. For one thing, they took this apple core that I had thrown way down in that gully yesterday during lunch. They took that and then set it right next to the limb bone in the quarry. And then they also decided to chew a little hole in Ethan's dry bag over here, which is not good. Let me show that to you. Got those characteristic chew marks from a little rodent right here. See those? Yeah. Rodent's always chewing on stuff. Yeah, we've got plaster of Paris in here for jacketing. And I might try and help Ethan fix this later. Maybe with some duct tape and some JB Weld or something like that, because it'd be a shame to have to throw away a dry bag like that just because it's got a hole in it. But, yeah. Google Shilling, how are you doing? Welcome. Yeah. Zintas has just realized you walked quite the distance from where you parked the view. Oh, we're in a different valley over here, Zintas. This is not near the other site. Yeah. Not near where we were jacketing that Ceratopsian last week. Not at all. And Maureen, how's it going today? Pretty well, yeah. We're getting some sun now, which is really nice. It's not as windy as I was fearing it might be. So yeah, I really can't complain. It's a good day to dig dinosaurs. Cooking Fat says, is it a lot of brush and picking? A lot of brushing with brushes, and I guess you could call it picking. Not picking like with a pick, but, scraping and prodding with various little digging tools. Awls and oyster knives, and the guys over there using screwdrivers, which I don't like using screwdrivers, but, to each their own. But yeah. Maureen says, me and my daughter like watching. Well, welcome, Maureen and daughter. It's so good to have you here. And by the way, To introduce myself for anybody who's just tuning in right now, welcome to Paleontologizing. I'm so excited you're here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. You probably know already a paleontologist is a scientist who studies fossils. I work on dinosaur fossils, and that's what I'm out here digging in western Wyoming right now with my crew. We're in the late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Rocks are about 73 million years old. Just about anything that we find here is going to be new, which is really exciting. And this dig was actually supported, made possible, I guess, by generous viewer support. We had a big fundraiser about a month ago at this point, and this community came through. It's pretty amazing. The amount of financial support this community came through with, like $7,000. Yeah, and that's enough for us to be able to be out here for close to a month. Well, actually more like 3 weeks. But yeah. Bring back several new species of dinosaur. So thank you again, everybody who contributed. Hats off to you. I am immensely grateful, as is the whole rest of the crew. So thank you. Yeah. But yeah. And let's see here. Oh, and cool cooking vat, nice. And Pang says, how much training did Terrence get? So Terrence has actually been here for a couple years. This is my first year at this, like, in this particular geologic formation. But Terrence was here last year and maybe the year before also. So he's definitely had some training under Ethan. Yeah. And I don't know, a big part of the training is just like recognizing when you should slow down and say, hey, come look at this, what should I do? And he's been really good at that so far, so yeah, definitely not worried. Thank you, Creatrix Britt. Hey, I really appreciate that, Britt. Great to have you here. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let's see here. Jim says it's amazing how cheap an expedition can be. It's a shame it's not better funded. I know, right? Especially when you consider how big money dinosaurs can be. Like, think about the film Jurassic Park. When that came out in 1993, it was the highest grossing film of all time. And I guess because of that, there was an increase in funding for dinosaur science, but it's definitely not proportional to how much money people make off of dinosaurs and various pop culture stuff, movies and video games and toys and, birthday parties, anything else that you can think of that has dinosaurs plastered all over it. It's not like we see any of that money. And we wouldn't even know about dinosaurs if it were not for paleontologists out in the field digging them up and then studying them in the laboratory and the museum. So, yeah, like a lot of things in this world, it's not necessarily fair or just. But yeah, with just a few $1,000s, we can go out and find several new kinds of dinosaur, kind of fill in a big gap in what life was like during the age of dinosaurs. So yeah, I always tell people that if you're a person of some means and you would like to make a contribution to the sciences, you want to make a contribution that really counts, you want a lot of bang for your buck. You really can't do much better than funding dinosaur paleontology. We squeeze every penny, make everything go as far as it can. But yeah. And let's see. Neverwinter says, I went out with Elevation Science in 2015, and there was about a mile hike to the dig site with a few hundred feet of elevation change into the Lance Formation. I'm a big guy, so it was doubly hard to get there. Yeah, the Lance, actually, if you were to follow these strata into northern Wyoming, you would start getting into the Lance Formation. Lance is roughly equivalent to the Hell Creek, the very end of the Age of Dinosaurs. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I think that's where the first Triceratops was found, was in the Lance. Yeah, we're a bit lower in section here, so probably about maybe 6 million years earlier than the bottom of the Lance Formation. But it's all right here in Wyoming. Yeah, good stuff. But yeah. Hey, Scarfront. Welcome. It's good to have you here. And yes, we are broadcasting direct from the field right now, thanks to the Starlink. You can maybe see the router on top of that sandstone rock up there. We'll go around and see the dish again. Yeah, what dinosaur are we digging? A hadrosaur, a duckbill dinosaur, Marine. It's going to be new, most likely, based on... because we don't have any dinosaurs from this formation yet. It's almost certainly going to be a new species, which is really exciting. Yeah. Cooking Fat wants to know, what's the biggest dinosaur ever found? That is up for debate. Shoot. It's some kind of sauropod. Big, long-necked, four-legged dinosaur. But there's a lot of competing ideas as to which one was the biggest. Because none of the very, very biggest ones are complete. And so, you kind of have to estimate how big each one would be, and then try and compare them. But some contenders would be Argentinosaurus from Argentina, Alamosaurus from North America, from the American Southwest, and then dinosaurs like Dreadnoughtus from Argentina, also very, very big. Dreadnoughtus might be the most complete of these super large dinosaurs, and that's a really cool one. Yeah. Again, there's our satellite dish right there. So, broadcasting live via satellite. And there's the router, which gives me Wi-Fi to run this stream off of. So, yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Neverwinter says, yeah, it was right below the KPG boundary. Very nice. It cropped out on the side of the road on the way to the quarry. Very cool. Yeah. Nice. I don't know how much KPG boundary is in the Lance. I know oftentimes people goof and they say that things are the KPG when they're really not. Working up in the Hell Creek, the KPG can be really difficult to spot. The KPG boundary, by the way, for anybody who's wondering what I'm talking about, that is the line like where the asteroid hit. So below the KPG boundary, you get an abundance of dinosaurs. Above it, no more dinosaurs. Except for birds. So yeah, that's the extinction, the extinction line, the KPG boundary, the very end of the Cretaceous period. Yeah. But it should be at the top of the Lance. I don't know. I've never actually worked in the Lance Formation. I don't know how common it is to find it there, or how often people think they found it when it's not really it. But yeah. But yeah, anyway, let me scroll down a little bit, scroll up. Oh, thank you from Wex. We had a question. Wex says, I'm an amateur lepidorist. Do you have an opinion on people grinding fossils to turn them into jewelry, i.e. ammonites, Petoskey stones, coprolites? If it's a common fossil, something that's not scientifically important, then I've got no problem with that, I think it's really cool. I think it's important for people to be able to develop like an emotional attachment to Earth's past, to the history of life on Earth. I think that's really cool. So as long as it's not something that's scientifically important, you go for it, Yeah. But when people are trying to sell whole dinosaur skeletons and stuff like that, that's where I would take issue with that kind of thing. But a little bit of fossil here and there, not a problem. No, I think it's really cool, actually. I would encourage people to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let me scroll down and try and catch up. Yeah. Oh, we've got some paleo news. Thank you, Dr. Tara. I do not have the ability to click on that out here in the field. But yeah, no raptor claw necklaces then? No, Harry Vetch, no. Those are... The number of good dromaeosaur, digit 2 claws in the world is probably maybe just over a dozen. So, I don't know. What would that be the equivalent to? Maybe like an original Shakespeare folio or something like that, and you turn it into a little newspaper hat and wear it around. You know, just not a good idea. Yeah. Hey, Chiggy D, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. But yeah. How does KPG stand for Cretaceous Paleogene? Oh, attractive cactus. That is a great question. So when they were coming up with abbreviations for the different geologic time periods, C, I think, was already taken for Cambrian. And so they used K for Cretaceous. And I think it also fits nicely in with, isn't Cretaceous? Cretaceous means like chalky, and I think that comes from the German word for chalk. It's like Kreite or something like that, which is spelled with a K. So it just works, yeah. But the K in KPG stands for Cretaceous, even though Cretaceous starts with a C. Yeah. But yeah. And, oh, it's Kalk? Is that right, Matt Pie? Okay. Well, something like Kreite. What does that mean in German? Because I'm pretty sure it's that word. Like, Kreide. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. Good stuff. And hey, Ella Rain, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. And Cecil Gimel says, hello, are dinosaur eggs rare? Not if you're in the right place. There are certain environments where you just get dinosaur eggshell everywhere. And it might be something to do with the local chemistry of the groundwater at the time, or depositional environment. Maybe it's like really alkaline soils or rocks. I don't know. But there are certain places where dinosaur eggs are all over the place. And there are certain places where you've never find any dinosaur egg. We've not found any dinosaur egg here, for instance. It's never been reported from the Almond Formation. And it's barely been reported from, say, the Hell Creek Formation or the Lance. It's very, very rare in those environments. So yeah, it could be that it's like a chemistry thing where just in certain places it doesn't get preserved. Or it could be that a lot of dinosaurs just weren't laying their eggs there. Maybe they migrated out of the region and laid their eggs elsewhere, in the uplands or something. Not sure. Yeah. But yeah. But anyway. How many languages do I know? Almost one. I think I'm almost fluent in, what's it called? English. Yeah. No, un poquito de español también. Pero mi vocabulario no es tan bueno. Yeah. And I'm in southwest Wyoming. Sky Mouse Breeze, kind of near the town of like Green River, if you know where that is. Yeah. But yeah, and how long will I be doing fieldwork at this site? Well, here in the Almond Formation, I'll be here until the 30th is when I leave. 30th? 30th, yeah. But I'm going to be at this site. I don't know. I might not be at this site tomorrow. I might get switched out to a different site to help manage things. We'll see. I hear the guys talking over there. They may have found something. So maybe we'll go look. But yeah. And you work in Cheyenne. Very cool, Gamer Pino. Nice. I've been to Cheyenne before. Yeah. And Arle, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. And Lenina, thank you for the gift sub. I appreciate that very much. I do. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Irrefutable says, what made you reconsider if the bone you found is a tibia instead of a femur? Not so much its morphology, not so much the shape of the bone, as that it's smaller than the other femur that came from the site. So either we've got two different animals, two different individuals, one of them bigger than the other at the same site, or we've got a great big femur and a slightly smaller tibia. And I think that might be more likely. Let's go back and look at that again, just so I can show everybody. And then maybe we'll do some story time. I'll grab that book by about Barnum Brown and talk about his time in the Almond 80-something years ago. The last time anybody really dug anything up here. But yeah, here's our mystery limb bone. It's pretty massive, so it's either a smaller femur or potentially a tibia is the next most likely thing. It's way too big to be a hadrosaur humerus, so I don't think it's going to be that. Yeah. Most likely a tibia, I think. There was a femur that came from right there, and that was significantly larger. That sucker was like 4 feet long, so well over a meter. This is definitely smaller. It's less than 3 feet long, or less than a meter. And it's very unlikely that this dinosaur had one very long thigh bone and one shorter thigh bone. So either it's two different animals, two different individuals, or this is a tibia and not actually a femur. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Does it smell like a rock? It does indeed. Most fossils do. Yeah. But yeah. And Nun Pizza Beer Left says, is it possible for anyone to have volunteered to help on a dig? Mostly, yeah. I want to be positive about that answer, yeah. Not necessarily here, but there are other places. Like, I need to come up with a command for this. But the Burpee Museum of Natural History in Rockford, Illinois, they have like a site out in Hanksville, Utah. And they really need volunteers. If you can get yourself out there, they will take you on as a volunteer. And you get to dig up Morrison dinosaurs. So that's, Allosaurus, Stegosaurus. I think they've got some Barosaurus there. They might even have some Apatosaurus. They've got aka Brontosaurus, They've got a bunch of really cool dinosaurs, and that is one of the best dinosaur sites in the United States. And you can go there and volunteer and learn how to dig dinosaurs. They definitely need the help. So check them out, the Burpee Museum of Natural History. Burpee like the seed company, spelled the same way. And the quarry is called the Hanksville Burpee Dinosaur Quarry. If you Google that, you can find their website, and they probably have like an application portal or something on there too. Yeah. And you're welcome, Nun Pizza Beer Left. I was actually just there a couple weeks ago. Right before I was at this big scientific conference in Utah, we had like a pre-conference field trip where for 4 days we drove all around Utah, visiting different museums and different fossil sites, different geological outcrops, looking at the contacts between different geological formations and that kind of thing. It was led by Jim Kirkland, the Utah State paleontologist. And on our, I think, second to last day, we stopped at Hanksville Burpee, and that was really, really cool. Beautiful landscape, and such a big area where they've got dinosaurs coming out all over the place. And they need help. So, if you ever want to volunteer on a dinosaur dig, that might be the place to start out. Yeah. Good stuff. But yeah. And very cool diagonal. Yeah. Paleozoic fossil sites. Good stuff. Those brachiopods, they did really well in the Paleozoic, didn't they? I think after the Permian extinction, they'd kind of fallen and couldn't get up again. But yeah. Help! I've fallen and I can't get up, say the brachiopods. So yeah. And yeah, I'm not standing in a spot where the Starlink should be. I don't know. The Starlink can be kind of wonky. I think that's what's going on right now. Yeah. And let's see here. Excellent. Hey, Andrew Holding. Holy cow, thank you for the raid. I don't know if you can see or hear me right now. I might be having some connection issues with the Starlink. Yeah. But, good stuff. Really appreciate that raid. Oh, and I'm back? Good. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Andrew Holding. Tell me about your stream. How'd it go? And welcome to the late Cretaceous Almond Formation out here in, western Wyoming. Let me set the camera down so I can readjust this wrist strap because it's too loose. And we can't be having any of that. Let's see. Just like this. There we go. Readjust this thing. It's being a pain in the butt. There we go. Yeah. And hopefully that does it. Just tight enough where it doesn't cut off circulation, but just loose enough. Well, just loose enough that it doesn't cut off circulation. Just tight enough that it doesn't wobble around too much when I'm trying to look at chat. Yeah. And you're scanning the dirt for fossils. We can go find some, Mr. Snipes. Yeah. Well, first maybe. We've got so many loyal viewers here. Maybe I'll break out that biography of Barnum Brown, and I'll read you the page when he's here in the Almond Formation. Yeah, and he almost doesn't make it out alive. Let me go get that. It's over in my storage trunk. Yeah. Everything going well, Fish?
Yeah, I found a weird thing. I'm not sure if
Oh.
it's a tooth or not.
We love weird things. Let's see.
Take a look at it.
Yeah.
It's a rock. I've never seen something quite like it. You're gonna have to flip it over a little bit.
Yeah. That is bizarre. It almost looks like a fish tooth. Some of these fish have got like really wonky looking kind of, round teeth, like almost spherical. I think that's possibly what that is, or it could just be a really weird concretion. Yeah. Good spot though, whatever it is.
I'll have Ethan check it out later.
Yeah. It doesn't look like one of those alligator teeth in the back that are all round for crunching turtles. It looks more fishy in terms of its texture.
Yeah.
Fishy like a fish, not like suspicious. But yeah, good spot. Wonder what that's going to turn into. Yeah. All right. There we go. And here's that book. Yeah. Go over here and I'll find that passage and I'll read that to you, everybody. Yeah. Let's see if I can put the camera down in the same spot and it'll stay without getting blown over by the wind. One can hope. There we go. Wow, not too shabby. Sit down right here. And whoops. Got the page bookmarked. Or not bookmarked, dog-eared. Yeah. So again, this is biography of Barnum Brown, the man who discovered Tyrannosaurus Rex. One of the most well-known dinosaur paleontologists of the 20th century. Really famous. And Barnum Brown was actually here in 1937 in these very same rocks, looking around for dinosaurs. And he found a few. He never ended up naming any of them, which is why anything that we find here is going to be new, because Barnum Brown never actually published on any of these things. But, yeah. Let's see. Try and find. There we go. So yeah, Barnum Brown, he didn't actually call this the Almond Formation when he was here. He called it the Mesa Verde Formation. But Barnum Brown nearly died working here because of just how crazy the weather can get in this particular region. So here we go. let's see. Oh, he was writing back to the museum. He says, during our first 2 weeks, we were overrun with hundreds of visitors, including newspapermen who had sent out many unauthorized statements to the press, including one stating that we had given up the search, and another that our camp was destroyed by a cloudburst. Brown expanded on the perilous thunderstorm in his final report to Sinclair. It had occurred when Brown and an assistant named Chaffee were collecting the duckbill dinosaur, which was located on a high ridge that was extremely difficult to access by vehicle. As thunderheads burgeoned on the horizon, the pair persisted in excavating, paying scant attention to the gathering peril. But their focus changed as sheets of heavy rain pelted the quarry. Seeking shelter in the truck's cab, they watched from the ridge in growing apprehension as the waters began to roar like Niagara in the creek beds on either side of the ridge. We realized that the truck could not be moved for several days, and the only way we could get back to camp was to cross one of the swollen streams and walk. We made coats out of gunny sacks, and in the pitch darkness, waded to the stream between us and the town, only to find that the stream was an impassable, rushing torrent. Oh wait, hang on a minute. I think we may have lost connection, so let me know when we're back on. Let's see here. Waiting. Oh, we're good. Okay. Claire said that we were down. Yeah. The only avenue of escape was a bridge 3 miles distant. But after trudging through the slippery mud to the span, they discovered that the bridge had already washed away. Soaked to the bone, they hiked back to the truck, where they planned to build a fire for warmth, only to find that they had used all their matches in lighting cigarettes. Then, a happy thought came to Chaffee, and starting the motor, he short-circuited a spark plug and ignited cigarette papers soaked with gasoline. We built a fire in plaster pans and took turns in sleeping and tending the fire until morning. In the meantime, members of our party were much concerned. Rescuing parties were sent out during the night, but they could not find us, and their anxiety increased until late the following day when we finally reached camp. So during the deluge, reporters in town had gotten wind that Brown had not returned, and word quickly spread that his party had perished in the cloudburst. Hey, Oh yeah, we got some ravens up there.
That's not a raven.
Oh, I mean, I hear a raven. Is that a turkey vulture up there too?
The bigger one is something else.
Yeah, that's a turkey vulture, looks like. Yeah. Here, check that out up there. Yeah, the smaller one's a raven, you can hear it, but we got a turkey vulture up there also.
It's like chasing him.
Yeah, neat. Huh. Yeah. So during all of this, Walter Granger, who's back at the American Museum of Natural History in New York, he's, I think, anyway, he's like, one of the paleontologists in that department. A week later, Granger calmly wrote to Brown saying that various high-strung people were running about the museum expressing great anxiety following the receipt of a press dispatch announcing disaster to your expedition. I assured them, however, that if there were any survivors, they would surely wire into us, and I hoped that they wouldn't worry any more than I did, which was none at all. During this time, Barnum Brown was also doing live broadcasts from the field via CBS radio. So I think that's pretty neat that, I'm doing that right now via Starlink. And, yeah, those would have been some of the few live broadcasts from any dinosaur dig anywhere. They were right here in the obscure Almond Formation, where I am right now, broadcasting to you from. So yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Oh, and it is Thursday Birds Day, isn't it? A Thursday Birds Day cameo. Well, excellent. Yeah. Good stuff, everybody. Yeah, various high-strung people. There you go, Bette Midler. Yeah. And I am pleased with how sunny it is right now. It was not like this earlier. Holy cow. Good stuff. Yeah. And Original Old Dog, thank you for the 10 months of support. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Asteroid Panda, yep, history does repeat. It is true. Yeah. We've got 279 people watching right now by my count. If anybody's got any questions, let me know. Yeah. But But yeah. Oh, no, okay, I got you, Claire. Yeah. Well, cool. I've got some other visual aids that I can show you when we're talking about this, so let me get into that storage trunk and we'll grab those. Here we go. So this right here is for the state of Utah. We are just north of Utah right now in southwest Wyoming. But let's see. This is the age of dinosaurs right here. Dinosaurs first evolved right there where it says first dinos. About 230, maybe closer to 240 million years ago, something like that. We've got our first dinosaurs down there. Right now, the rocks that we are working in, here in Wyoming, are from way up here, the Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary. So this should be 66 right there, but 66 million years ago is the end of the age of dinosaurs. So we are basically right there where the middle of my thumbnail is, between the Campanian and the Maastrichtian. So yeah, we are almost at the end of the age of dinosaurs, but in a particular time where we don't really have any other dinosaurs from North America from this age and from this general region. That's why we think that anything we get here is going to be new. So yeah, does that make sense? And it is a very handy guide, especially for Utah. We've got more dinosaurs from Utah than any other U.S. state, it seems. Even more than Wyoming. Yeah. And now, during this time, right before the end of the age of dinosaurs, like late Campanian, right before the beginning of the Maastrichtian, this area did not look like this. It would have looked completely different. And let me grab you a paleo map to kind of give you an idea of that. It's right up here. There we go. So, you're all familiar with what North America looks like today. Back during the Cretaceous, the late Cretaceous, about 73 million years ago, this would have been a coastal area. Out to the east was an inland sea that we called the WIS, the Western Interior Seaway. And through the WIS swam all kinds of different amazing creatures. You know, giant four-flippered, long-necked plesiosaurs, giant ocean-going lizards called mosasaurs up to about 40 feet long, flightless birds like Hesperornis that kicked with their feet in order to swim through the water in search of fishes and squids and things like that. Ammonites, these coiled mollusks, picture basically like, you know, a coiled shell, almost like a ram's horn, but packed really, you know, it's like a complete coil with a, you know, an octopus-like creature living inside of it. It would, you know, as the animal grew, its shell would expand, it would add on new segments. Some of these things got truly huge. Really incredible animals. This is what North America would have looked like at the time. So we are here in Wyoming right now, and actually during this time the seaway would have been a little bit larger. So again, crouch down so I can put this here. We're here, right about here in southwest Wyoming. So at the time, the seaway was actually encroaching even further. We would have been right here on the coast. And the sandstone that overlies the Almond Formation here is, I believe, a marine sandstone, which is the... I keep forgetting the name. Darn it. But anyway, so right after this time, the seaway expanded and covered up the land where we're standing right now. But during the Almond Formation time, you know, this was the coast, right there by the sea. So a lot of these rocks represent, you know, kind of a deltaic environment. So like river deltas going right out to the sea, maybe like brackish water, like where the fresh water meets the salt water and kind of all mixes up, gets all brackish. And there are various rivers and lakes and ponds and streams and creeks and everything else. We're still kind of figuring out the exact lithology here and what specific kinds of environments are represented. But we know it's very near the coast and pretty wet. Yeah. We see a lot of coals through here, which represent like swamps, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Chaelzabub, for the gifts up there. I appreciate that very much. Yeah. And... yeah. Oh, and did the video cut out for a while? Shoot. This is what we were looking at. This is what North America would have looked like roughly the same time that we've got right here. Except the seaway would have been a little bit larger than this. So southwest Wyoming would have been right on the coast of the western interior seaway. Yeah. So this is supposed to be about 70.4 million years ago, right at the Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary. We're looking closer to like 73 million years ago for these rocks right here. So picture that seaway just a little bit larger, kind of encroaching further west into Wyoming. And yeah, that's where we're at. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. These maps are really, really cool too. It's kind of amazing that we've been able to gather enough information to create maps of what these areas would have looked like tens of millions of years ago. But there you go, 70.4 million years ago. Yeah. This is a map by Ron Blakey from Colorado Plateau Geosystems. So if you just do a Google search for Ron Blakey maps, you'll find all kinds of really cool stuff like this. I don't know, I get excited about this sort of thing, trying to figure out, you know, what did Earth look like back then? The fact that we can actually figure that out. We don't have to wonder. We can actually piece together the clues and understand this. I find that really exciting. Yeah. And it's because of work like this that we're doing here. You know? Yeah. You would love a coffee table book of those maps? I have that book, Chaelzabub. Yeah. It's called Ancient Landscapes of North America, I believe. Good book. Yeah. Not quite like coffee table book size, but it's a hardcover book. Beautiful, beautiful full color maps and pictures of outcrop and timescales and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think it's called Ancient Landscapes of Western North America. Yeah. Yeah. Let me scroll down a little bit. And yeah, Maastricht is a Dutch city. That's where the term Maastrichtian comes from. So Maastrichtian, right there, that was first, like that rock, that age of rocks was first identified in the Dutch city of Maastricht. Hence, Maastrichtian. Yeah. I don't know where Campanian comes from. But yeah. There's Oxfordian, which is in like the Middle Jurassic. That's named after Oxford in England. Same with, what is it? Bathogian is from the town of Bath in southern England. And you could just keep going on and on. There's Kimmeridgian, I think, is after a town called Kimmeridge, etc., etc. It's where these age rocks were first discovered. And so that particular stage of time gets named after them. Yeah. Let me scroll down. Hey, Moohoodles, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah. And do I hear a bird on stream? You definitely do, Miss Yvette. There are several birds flitting around, doing their calls and doing their birdie things. Yeah. Oh, and Campania is an Italian region. That's probably where that comes from, paid actor. Yeah. And do I ever have to wear gloves for some reason? Definitely, Attractive Cactus, yeah. I've got like 3 or 4 pairs of gloves here in the field. Some of them with fingers, some of them fingerless. For different applications, yeah. If I'm going to be swinging a pick all day, I'll be wearing gloves, probably fingerless gloves. Yeah. But yeah, anywho. Miss working with science, Asteroid Panda? I mean, you don't have to necessarily be a scientist to be active in science either. We've got volunteers on our crew from all different walks of life. There's many different ways that you can contribute to science without necessarily having, a piece of paper saying that you're qualified to do this or that. So much of science is severely underfunded, and it kind of survives based on people volunteering, people who were passionate about learning about the natural world. So yeah. Yeah, and Mayor Space's Errors Maps Mercator projection. Is there something without the scale distortions? So here, this is not a Mercator projection because you can see the like the lines of latitude are curved, so it's definitely not Mercator. I'm guessing this is like an equal area projection or something like that, or whatever you call it. But yeah. Have I found anything interesting today? Asks Texas Hula. I found a beautiful gar scale earlier that I'd be happy to show you. Yeah. And I've ever hit a fossil with a pickaxe. I never have, Cactus Jack. No, I've been, I guess, lucky in that regard. Yeah. Well, never a dinosaur fossil. I'm sure I've definitely hit fossils of roots and plants with a pickaxe, or with what we call a geopaleo pick. Here, I'll show you some of those over here. Yeah. Luck or skill, says Moohoodles. It's a good question. Let's see. Yeah, this is the kind of pick I'm talking about. Est-wing geopaleo pick. So I have moved, I don't know how many tens of tons of overburden using one of these in the past. And I've got my very own back in camp. But yeah, this is an essential tool in the field for removing what we call overburden. That's all the rock that's above the quarry that we want to get rid of so we can get down to the bone layer. Like where Terrence and Fisher are working right now. Yeah. But yeah. Cooking Fat says, I've always been curious about geology. Does looking at the lay of the rocks help in your searches? Absolutely, yeah. So we've been finding dinosaur fossils kind of underneath these kind of massive sandstone blocks up there. In the various places that we found dinosaurs this summer in the almond, they've often been below layers like that. And so these big blocks are eroded down from that layer like that. So as long as we're looking just below those, we're more likely to find dinosaurs for whatever reason. So yeah, that's not just important, it's essential. Like, that's how we find things in the first place. You got to make sure that you're looking in the right age of rocks. So if we were working down there and in that whitish sandstone, very unlikely that we're going to find any dinosaurs down there. Likewise, if we're looking too high in section, like in the marine deposits, like ocean bottom sediments, we're pretty unlikely to find any dinosaurs. It does happen every once in a while. You would get dinosaurs that would get washed out to sea and eventually they get buried on the seafloor, but it's much rarer than finding them in terrestrial environments, up on the land, like these rocks represent. Does that make sense? Yeah. But good stuff. Good stuff. Jails Above says, do you have before pictures of the areas you're digging in? I do, but I don't have any way to show you with this mobile setup right here. So apologies. And Melissa, how are you doing, Melissa in Denial? And yeah, this is, welcome to Wyoming. It's definitely got its own kind of beauty. But there's a little too much vegetation here for my taste. When we're out in eastern Utah later this summer, in July, I'll show you some, what I think is even more beautiful country. Yeah, kind of near Moab, Utah. Are we back? All good is a... it's a very ambiguous message. Are we back? All right. Good. Excellent. That wasn't anything that I did. That's just Starlink. It comes and goes sometimes. When it works well, but it cuts out, But yeah. Here, let's look around at some of these other cairns again, like we were doing yesterday and earlier today. Let's find a few more of these fossils to look at. stuff that we had that Fisher found earlier and already documented. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah. And you were very right about that Texas hula. Yes. Yeah. It's live streaming IRL, especially out off the grid like this. You know, it's you never know what's going to happen. There we go. We got some more bone right here. Yeah, this is dinosaur bone. That is the texture of dinosaur bone right there. And this is how the bone usually looks when we first find it. It'll be just sitting on the surface like that, and we have to be able to identify that around everything else. And it takes some practice to be able to actually spot bone like that and be able to recognize its texture. And then once you know you have bone, then you look around for more bits of bone and you start following it up the hill. And then when it stops, that could be your bone layer right there. So you dig in. That's why, you know, if you ever pick up a piece of dinosaur bone when you're out on an expedition like this, if you're going to set it down, always make sure that you set it down slightly lower than where you found it, or in the exact same place. You don't want to set it down any higher, because that could totally mess up your search. I'm going to put this back here. Where there's another piece right there. We got surface texture, and then, oof, it's going to show you internal texture, but this is all gummed up with all this concretionary crud. I complain about all this crud that's crusted onto here, but that might actually be part of what's preserving the bone at this locality. So if it weren't for that concretionary crud, we might not have bone preserved here. So it's, I guess you can't really complain too much, you know? Yeah. Oh, an attractive cactus. Thank you for reposting that from Asteroid Panda. What are some really good books related to geology and astronomy that I'd recommend? I don't really know of any good astronomy books, because that's outside my field. And I haven't really read any astronomy books, to be honest. But geology, I would recommend Basin and Range by John McPhee. Pretty florid in his language. The guy is like a journalist, and you know, he can write real fancy, but it's good stuff, and he kind of captures what makes geology so fascinating, and yeah, the kinds of people who become geologists. He captures that really well. What happens to someone when they start thinking in terms of geologic time? That's kind of like the main point of the book. So yeah, check that out. Basin and Range by John McPhee. Good stuff. Yeah. Mayor of Spaces, I would start with Astronomy for Dummies. Mayor of Space, you're no dummy. My goodness. And Melissa Denial's question, where is your campsite in relation to where you were digging? It's a few miles that way. Yeah. Our campsite it's almost like in a little gully, sort of like that down there. There's all these towering rocks around it. The thing is, it's hidden from the road, which is important, because you get unsavory characters coming through here looking to steal stuff, so it's important to have a camp that's not too obvious. Yeah, I don't want anybody stealing my solar panels or other streaming gear. So yeah, but we're a few miles that way, and we've got one truck for the whole crew, and so Ethan, who's the crew leader, this is his project. He's got to drive us out here and drop us off in the morning, and then come out here to pick us up in the evening. So yeah, but yeah, and holy cow, there are almost 500 people in here. Holy cow! I feel like I should do a little station break and welcome everybody. If it's your first time here, I hope you stick around. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm broadcasting to you live from the remote desert of western Wyoming. It's not that remote, to be honest, but we're kind of near the town of like Green River, Wyoming. In the late Cretaceous almond formation. We're out here digging up dinosaurs. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, so I dig up dinosaurs, I study them, I publish on them in the scientific literature. And I am thrilled to be able to share, you know, what it's like to work in the field with all of you. So this is pretty, this is unique. I think I can say that without bragging. I don't know of anybody else who streams Dinosaur Digs live on Twitch. So yeah, if you've got any questions or anything, don't be shy. Yeah. Anyway. And yep, we are split off into different crews. I think 3 different crews right now, Jody Fish. At another site that I might be streaming from tomorrow, we'll see. We're going to be, well, we've got another duckbill dinosaur, but we've got a skull. And it's all encrusted in this other crusty stuff, kind of like you were seeing the crusty crud earlier. But it's in like a big sandstone block. There are various pieces of skull in there. And yesterday, they were digging around what we thought was maybe a humerus, like an upper arm bone. Turns out it might actually be a dentary, a lower jaw, which is honestly much more important. It might even be, yeah, a particularly cool kind of duckbill dinosaur. I don't know if I should talk about that yet without asking Ethan first. But yeah. And hey, Hoot House, how are the owls doing? It's great to have you here. We're looking at some, well, I was going to say bird ancestors. Not quite. These dinosaurs are not the ones that birds evolved from, duckbill dinosaurs. But, yeah. But, you know, the cousins of modern birds, ornithischian dinosaurs. We're digging up a duckbill dinosaur, which is a kind of bird-hipped dinosaur. But the bird-hipped dinosaurs are not the dinosaurs that birds evolved from. That's a misnomer. Birds evolved from the lizard-hipped dinosaurs, particularly the theropods, the 2-legged meat-eating dinosaurs. But anyway, let me walk up here and I'll show everybody the big limb bone in the quarry. Yeah. Yeah. And hey, Nuclear Cowboy, how are you doing? Welcome. Oh, and the owls have fledged. Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Good stuff. Here, let's look at that limb bone again for all the new folks. Here's our actual quarry up here. There's Fisher standing up there. Yeah. Oh, there's another bit of bone. We found this one yesterday. Yeah, this is probably part of a rib right here. Though it could be neural spine. Yeah, and there's some crusty crud on there. Concreted onto the surface. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, and we've got a Lordy raid. Hello, Lordy and raiders. How you doing? Welcome. Take another look at that limb bone. Anything new up here, guys?
Not yet. Still
okay.
Going.
Yeah. There is our big limb bone, like I was showing everybody earlier. So for the new folks, there it is. Still trying to figure out if it's a femur, a thigh bone, or a tibia, which is a shin bone. But whatever it is from a big animal. Looks like a duck-billed tibia or a femur, probably. I mean, the other elements that we have from here are from duck-billed dinosaur, hadrosaur, so it stands to reason this is from that too, but it's got all of this concreted crud on it, so it's tough to actually see the morphology while it's all covered up. But in order to keep it nice and safe, we're going to have to keep it covered up until it gets back to the laboratory. So yeah. And thank you, Happiest Collie. I'm glad the stream looks good. Yeah. When the Starlink works, it works. Yeah. Good stuff. So here, let me show you. Yeah, this doesn't actually have a. Here's a family tree of archosaurs, but it doesn't actually have a thing for ornithopods. It doesn't have a silhouette there. But our dinosaur should be right here on this branch right there. Ornithopoda. Duckbill dinosaurs are a kind of ornithopod. That means bird foot. But this animal would not have feet that looked particularly like a bird's feet. Much more robust. But, oh, here we go. This is even better. There we go. So there is a family tree of the amniotes. Dinosaurs start. There we go. Dinosaurs start right here. And so our duckbill dinosaur will be up here on this branch. There's Parasaurolophus right there, kind of a classic duckbill dinosaur. Our dinosaur might be similar to Parasaurolophus, or it might be different. We don't know yet, because we don't have any of the... We haven't really been able to identify any diagnostic skull bits quite yet. But we do have some skull pieces from over there, like that bit of jawbone that Fisher found with the tooth rows in it, which is really exciting. So we know that we've got skull coming out right over here around the corner. Exciting stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Iconic Song, for the 7 months. I really appreciate that. Good stuff. Yeah. Oh, and here we go. This is a skeletal diagram of Iguanodon. Iguanodon is an early, I guess, big iguanodontian. This is from England, from the early Cretaceous. Here we're in the late Cretaceous of North America. But the body plan is much the same. So we've got a femur from this site so far, the biggest bone in the body. And then we might also have a tibia, although... Look at how robust the fibula is there. There is a chance that it's a fibula, but I really kind of doubt that. In this animal, the femur and the tibia are about the same length. If what we have here is a tibia, it shouldn't be that much shorter than the femur. We might just have multiple individuals here. That might be what it turns out to be. We'll see. That's funny, when I was looking at this diagram, I figured that the femur would be much longer than the tibia, but they're about the same length. And that's probably also true for the descendants of these guys, the hadrosaurs, duckbill dinosaurs. Well, you know, like we have here. So interesting. Interesting. We might have a whole bone bed of duckbills here. So, in years to come, we might have to knock down this whole hill here and just dig in and see how far the bone bed goes. If it is multiple individuals that we have so far, then we could very well have a bone bed and have a whole bunch of different individual duckbill dinosaurs here, which would be really cool. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. And EQ Washer, yeah, Iguanodon gets really big. This is Iguanodon bernasartensis. A lot of the other iguanodontians, like your classic English Iguanodon, some authors have placed those in a different genera nowadays, like Mantellosaurus and a whole host of others. But Iguanodon bernasartensis seems to be the biggest one. They were huge, like bigger than an elephant. Yeah. Very cool. I have a hand and wrist and part of the radius and ulna of one of these guys in my office, 3D printed. That thing is enormous. It's humongous. Yeah. Gigantor says, when does the BLM show up? I think it'll be sometime next week. Yeah. And Shales says, is that the dream to find a super active site and hunker down for multiple seasons? I mean, there's pluses and minuses to that, you know? I like to kind of bounce around to different sites. I guess the dream is just to find a bunch of other different sites in this area. Have this one that we can work in subsequent years. It'd be really cool to find some theropod stuff, like maybe a tyrannosaur from this formation would be really, really cool. We were actually discussing this earlier in the quarry, like what would I most like to find? Fisher really wants to find like a mammal skull, which would be super awesome. And yeah, I would love to find a troodontid, like a decent troodontid skeleton, because we don't really have any really good troodontid material from maybe anywhere in the U.S., actually, in the Cretaceous. Yeah, that would be super neat to have a really, really good troodontid from the Almond Formation. Holy cow, would that be cool? Yeah. Oh, and Jody Fish has got an excellent question. Oh, Simona Giulietta, thank you for the gift sub. I appreciate that, Simona. Thank you, thank you. Excellent. Yeah, Jody Fish wants to know, is it possible that you may end up with a sauropod? I mean, if a sauropod were to show up in the late Cretaceous, here might make sense, because we're not so far north, and it's not so late yet. We don't get sauropods in the Lance Formation or the Hell Creek. We do get sauropods in North America, down in like New Mexico and Texas and that area. It would be super, super neat if we found one here. Holy cow. I was actually joking about that earlier. It's like, what if this mystery bone turns out to be from a sauropod? That would be super cool. Some sort of like, North American Cretaceous Titanosaur. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And Rizzycat says, can you have a fossil scout working there just looking all over? I mean, that's what we were doing. In previous years, Ethan and the crew were mostly just prospecting. So walking around trying to find new sites, trying to find dinosaurs eroding out of the ground. This year, we're focused on excavation more than we are prospecting. Like, we've got the sites, we know where the different individual dinosaurs are, and now we're just digging them up. But yeah. And Konku87 says, you think all species are already found? No. Not even a fraction yet. Or, what am I saying? Not even a fraction. A small fraction of all the dinosaurs that existed have been found. There's still so many left undiscovered, including just about any dinosaur that we find here is going to be new to science. So that's super exciting. This duckbill we're digging up, almost certainly new to science. Yeah. But yeah. And let's see here. What's the schedule like at the site? Asks Cactus. We got here today around 10:30 a.m. and we'll be working here probably till about 6:30 p.m. So yeah, and we've got until about maybe July 3rd or 4th to work in this whole area before we have to leave. I'm going to be here until the 30th, and then I take off. So yeah. Nuclear Cowboy says, how hard is it to work with the BLM? Like asking permission to take down the hill? I mean, we already have an excavation permit for this particular site. That's where we were able to dig up that big hole. So yeah, it's been pretty good. BLM's been very good to us, and we're grateful. You always got to respect the stewards of the land like that, and those people work hard to preserve environments like this, and keep them accessible to the general public, keep them wild, and preserve them for future generations to protect the wildlife and the landscape itself. So yeah, I don't know. I'm proud to work with the BLM on stuff like this. It's a privilege to be able to do that. Yeah. And Maastrichtian says, just think about all the species lost to history because of the lack of preservation. Yeah, all the creatures, different species that arose and lived and then went extinct in areas where you didn't have rock being laid down. Creatures living in exclusively erosional environments. No record of them in the fossil record, So, yeah. It's really lucky that we have anything at all, honestly. But sometimes we find certain environments where you just get, like, most of the critters that lived in that environment that have hard parts, not slugs and worms and stuff, but creatures with bones or teeth or shells or claws. We find them, like in the Hell Creek. The Hell Creek is really, really good at preserving different critters, and yeah. Maybe someday we'll say that about the Almond Formation too, but we're just starting to really study these rocks and the fossils in them in earnest. Yeah, it's all largely unexplored here. Yeah. And BLM means the Bureau of Land Management, Texas Hula. Yeah, so they administer public federal lands, BLM lands. Yeah. There's actually somebody can look it up on YouTube and post the link. But if you search like Bureau of Land Management, dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, Laura Dern, or Sam Neill, or Jeff Goldblum, there are these PSAs that those actors did after Jurassic Park for the BLM telling people, like, don't go out and try and dig up dinosaurs on public lands because it's illegal and you'll mess everything up. You know? But write to the BLM if you want to learn where you can actually see dinosaurs, and they'll give you a list. It's before the age of the internet. But those PSAs, you can find them on YouTube. Yeah. Oh, Lenina's already got it. There you go. Beautiful. Yeah. And Maastrichtian... And yeah, Maastrichtian, there certainly would have been dinosaurs living in upland environments too. Yeah. It might be pretty hard to preserve. Dinosaurs were incredibly successful. They lived all over the world, on every continent, and just about every terrestrial environment. So yeah, they would have been all over the place, including up in the mountains. Cirque wants to know, how difficult is it to get a permit, and is it really important? It's not really important, it's essential, it's necessary. You have to get permits if you want to collect vertebrate fossils on public land. And, yeah, it's not that difficult. I mean, shoot, if you have members of your crew who have proper credentials, and if you have a museum that you can promise that you'll send the fossils to, and you have documentation from that museum saying that you have an agreement for that, then yeah. You know, we were able to do it. Ethan was able to take care of all that. So, if you're legit, yeah, permits are not only a necessity, they're something that you do get. It's almost like a circular argument. If you're legit, then you get permits. And you get permits if you're legit. But this is how it works, you know? Yeah. But anyway. Yeah. And hey, Pfizer, what's shaking? Yeah. Are there ever archaeology dig sites in big cities? I'm sure there are, Cactus, but that's not what this is. This is not archaeology, this is paleontology. You know, hence the name of the channel, Paleontologizing. I'm a paleontologist. Paleontologists study fossils. Like, the stereotype is that paleontologists all work on dinosaurs. Most paleontologists don't. But I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, so I do work on dinosaurs. Archaeologists work on human stuff, human artifacts. You know, remains of human civilizations, human settlements. So that's not at all what I do. It's a very, very different field. Yeah. Thank you, Phoenix, for those gift subs. Excellent. I really appreciate that. Good stuff. Yeah. But to answer your question, are there paleontological sites inside big cities? There are occasionally, yeah. Yeah. In Denver, Colorado, they dug up a Triceratops. I think, like, in Denver city limits a few years back. I know in Seoul, South Korea, there are some fossil sites with all kinds of plant and insect fossils from the Eocene, in the age of mammals, after the dinosaurs. So yeah, it definitely happens. Yeah. In the town of Bernisar, in Belgium, there was a coal mine that went way, way, way down deep under the town, and that's where Iguanodon bernisartensis was found. There were, I don't know how many individual Iguanodon skeletons, but they're all almost complete, and they're all from there in the town of Bernisar. So yeah, it definitely happens. But if you're in the U.S., the best place to find dinosaur fossils is usually in landscapes like this, you know? Areas with tons and tons of exposed rock. Yeah, and sometimes that's near a town. More often, it's pretty remote. Oh yeah. But yeah. And there you go, Slalok. Yes, indeed. The Red Rocks Amphitheater in Denver. There's also what is it? It's like Dinosaur Ridge in Colorado, which I think might be near the town of Grand Junction. But yeah, another really famous dinosaur fossil track site. Yeah, good stuff. And yeah, Maastrichtian, we no longer think those Iguanodon fell into a ravine or something. It's not thought that they might be part of like a flood deposit or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. And I don't know what everybody's talking about with Golden Kappa hype train. What? I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But I hope whatever's going on, it's bringing everybody some joy, and thank you for all the support. I appreciate that tremendously. I do this full time. This is actually how I make my living, is streaming on Twitch. You could call me the world's first full-time live streaming dinosaur paleontologist. Yeah, and it's such a privilege to be able to broadcast to you live from the field out in the wilds of western Wyoming. This is pretty cool. I'm not no false modesty here. This is pretty cool, and I hope you appreciate this. Yeah. Thank you, Nafron. Holy cow, for that gift sub there. Good stuff. And thank you, Fedorasaur. Excellent. And Teapot, hey, thank you for subscribing. This is an excellent time to do that, because I'm going to be streaming from here for the next week, and then taking a bit of a break for about 2 weeks. And then I'm going to be out in eastern Utah for, I think, at least 3 weeks, digging up dinosaurs and streaming from a very different looking landscape than this. Much drier, far fewer plants. It's going to be cool. Yeah. But also much later or earlier in time, excuse me. Cedar Mountain Formation, the dawn of the Cretaceous. Here, we're kind of, almost with, this is almost the end of the Cretaceous period, almost the end of the Age of Dinosaurs. But we're going to be at the dawn of the Cretaceous, down near Moab, Utah, in mid-July. So yeah. I don't have the ukulele here on site, Ali J. I'm sorry, but how are you doing? It's good to see you. Yeah. And Miss Miho says, I get to look into the world of paleontology while sitting in an air-conditioned room. I can't handle heat. It's really not that hot today. It's like maybe low 70s. Yeah, but man, when I'm in down near Moab in Utah in mid-July through August, it is gonna be hot. It's gonna be in the hundreds for sure. So, yeah, for certain. Yeah, and the mulberry is beautiful, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Lenina, for that gift sub. I appreciate that very much. Excellent. Yeah, good stuff. Walk back over by the quarry again, and then before too long I gotta wrap this up because I've got to actually move some overburden in the quarry and contribute to this. I can't stream all day, obviously. Yeah. But yeah. And dry heat, that's like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, Mahoodles, yeah. No streams for the first 2-ish weeks of July, right? I might do one here or there, but no promises. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be traveling for the first 2 weeks of July. So I'll try and bring my streaming laptop, and maybe I could do a few, hotel streams. But we'll see. No promises. Yeah. But yeah. And at least it won't be humid, right? Exactly, Wiles Paleo. Hey, welcome, Wiles Paleo. You've done field camp. It sounds like you're in the right place. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Montana for the better part of a decade in the town of Bozeman. Museum of the Rockies. But, yeah, really dry up there. I kind of like dry heat. It could be over 100, and as long as I've, got enough water and I can wear shorts, I'm fine, So I'm looking forward to being out there in Moab this year. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And I have been a busy person. You're right, Ice Allen. Thank you for understanding. Yeah. And thank you, Amelia Bedelia, for being here. Yeah. And you've had a wet spring. It's been really wet out here, too, and I've never seen Wyoming this green. It's nuts. And we've had a lot of rain since we got here, actually. Off and on. But yeah, driving through Nevada. When I left home in the Bay Area, drove through Nevada, I've never seen it that green before. It's nuts. Such a wet year. Yeah. And thank you, Slatlock, for those gift subs. That is extraordinary, and I really appreciate it. Every one of those gift subs means that one viewer will no longer have to watch any ads for the next 30 days. And, yeah, so shoot, I'm going to be out in Utah streaming from the early Cretaceous period. before any of them have to see any ads. So good stuff. Thank you, Slalog, and thank you, Victorious, for those gift subs too. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Wells Paleo. Yeah, hail. I've had hail knock the side mirror off of my truck before, out digging in the Hell Creek, eastern or central Montana. Yeah. Yeah. You've enjoyed it so far? Nice, Mr. Ictian. Nice. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So maybe I'll take a look at this real quick, and we'll talk about some of our different dinosaurs that we have evidence from here so far in the Almond Formation. We were digging up that Ceratopsian last week. You got to see that get jacketed live on stream. So that's Ceratopsian from this branch of the dinosaur family tree. Right here we've got a duckbill dinosaur, like our Parasaurolophus, excuse me. We've got some scrappy remains of an Ankylosaur, an armored dinosaur, from here also. And then there are... I don't think we have any theropod remains so far, you know, the meat-eating dinosaurs that eventually give rise to birds. I don't think we have any material from them yet. We do have a bunch of turtle remains, turtle shell pieces, some of them from this site, but turtles are not dinosaurs. Dinosaurs start right there, where it says dinosaurs begin here. That ain't lying. That's where they start. Yeah, and I think there might be a few croc teeth as well. Teeth of some crocodilians. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Anyway. And yes, I agree with Linnea. Thank you so much, everybody, for contributing to the stream. I do this full time. This is actually how I make a living. This is how I fund my research and my travels and my work in the field and in the lab. So thank you, everybody who's contributed to the channel financially. I could not stream like this if it were not for you. So thank you very, very much. I am deeply grateful. And again, I said it earlier, but let me say it again. What a privilege to be able to share this with you. Yeah, I would not be able to afford the Starlink setup up there, or the solar panels that power it, or any of the equipment that I'm streaming with right now. The encoder, the camera, the microphone, all this stuff was bought with, viewer donations. You guys pay my rent. That's extraordinary. I'm deeply, deeply grateful, and it's such an honor to be able to bring this content to you. I say as I drop my hat. There we go. So yeah, good stuff. And thank you, Jody Fish, for those 5 gift subs. Extraordinary. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that I can talk about at this point, but this is the second day we've been at this site. Second day in a row that I've streamed from here. If anybody's got any pressing questions, now is the time to ask them. Otherwise, might think about wrapping this thing up and seeing if we can raid into somebody else doing some science right now. So yeah, let me know. Oh, and Mr. Ictian, we are in the late Cretaceous Almond Formation here. These rocks are about 73 million years old, from like the late Campanian stage of the late Cretaceous period. About 73 million years old. So about, maybe about 5 million years before dinosaurs like T-Rex and Triceratops evolve. There's a chance that we might find the ancestors of those critters here. So, yeah. What was that, Terrence?
I was just watching this storm over there.
Oh, yeah. You think that's going to hit us?
I think it's going to miss us to the west and north.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we got a storm over there. Yeah. That is a big one. Cross your fingers that it misses us. Yeah. So far, camp has not been destroyed by any storms, which is good. But, yeah. Yeah, cross your fingers that condition continues. Yeah. And let me scroll up. Let's see here. Was Ethan able to get that rock saw? He did, Dr. Irrefutable. We actually fired it up for the first time the other day, and that thing is impressive. So we might have to use that on the other hadrosaur site. Yeah. And what did the other paleontologists think about how you fund your research? Gers, they're surprised. I say I've just attended a conference 2 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago now? A week and a half ago now. Man, it feels like so much longer. But yeah, when people say, like, oh, what institution are you attached to? Where do you get your funding? Like, oh, I'm freelance. I'm a free agent. I live stream, and that's how I am able to make my living and conduct my research and fieldwork and everything. And they're like, wow, so that works? Like, is that like a YouTube thing or TikTok? It's like, no, Twitch. Yeah. So yeah, people are surprised and impressed, I've found, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And Texas Hula, Indiana Jones song, very funny, Texas Hula. I appreciate you. Yeah. Batmandler says, do you ever come across human artifacts in the field? Projectile points, pottery, etc.? Not projectile points, but projectile, casings. 22 caliber, 30-06, 303. Yeah, lots of shotgun shells near camp from people who just come out here and shoot guns all over the place. So lots of those. We'll find like beer cans and stuff on the side of the road. There's a busted up computer down the road. Somebody just decided to bring a computer out here, an old computer, and probably shoot it with some guns. Yeah, lots of litter like that. But at one of these sites in a previous year, Ethan and co. actually found an old metal bucket that was almost certainly left here by Barnum Brown's crews when they came through in 1937. And there were like bits of dinosaur bones stacked up next to it. So yeah, that was one of their hadrosaur sites, and they left some good material there, which is interesting. Yeah. And Wiles Paleo says, are the hadrosaurids you find there all lambeosaurines, or are there saurolophines too? We're figuring that out. We've got at least one saurolophine from this formation, but we might have a lambeosaurine too, which would be pretty awesome. Yeah. You're hearing thunder or it's wind, Pickle? Yeah. Yeah. Linux Physics says, I love that you can time travel from late to early Cretaceous by visiting different areas. That's what it's all about, Yeah. And Moohoodle says, if we're on public lands, are we allowed to take the dinosaur fossils like you showed on the surface earlier? No, definitely not. Vertebrate fossils are protected under federal law, so you need a permit in order to be able to collect them. So we've got a prospecting permit for this whole region here, and then we have to apply for special excavation permits if we want to dig a big hole. On a prospecting permit, we can dig a hole that's 1 meter wide, but if you want to dig a big hole like our quarry here, you have to especially apply for excavation permits for each particular quarry like this. Like that one right there that we're digging this duckbill dinosaur up out of. So yeah. But yeah. And yep, sleeping in tents. Assault rabbit, yes indeed. Yeah. And Ethan should stream? Yeah, I agree. We'll see if we can get him on stream one of these days. But we've been kind of split up recently because, Ethan wants another person with a lot of fieldwork experience at this site, too, because he can't be in 2 places at once. So he's asked me to manage this, which hopefully I'm doing a good enough job even while streaming. But yeah, it's important to be able to do this outreach, Yeah. Let's see, scrolling. And we've got another hype train, or the end of the hype train. Nice. Yeah. And Jim says, what kind of remediation did you do after you were done excavating? So we'll fill in the quarry. We'll pile in a bunch of loose rock and dirt and stuff. And then, yeah, just try and make it look as natural as possible. That's the thing, when you're closing down a site, you want to no longer make it look like a big hole in the ground. So we do that, we round off the corners and everything. But we also try to make sure that we're not doing further excavation in the process of, you know, making it look natural. So like trying not to dig too much extra while you're rounding off all the corners on the quarry and everything. So yeah, and obviously we clean up as much of the plaster, bits of plaster on the ground and stuff as we can, and all that, you know? Yeah. Man, that storm cloud is, we might lose our sunlight in just a minute here. So, brace yourselves for that. Yeah. And thank you, Moohoodles. Hey, I appreciate your viewership. Yeah. Jody Fish says, I think Ethan found out just how important being on Twitch can be for scientific work. Yeah, agreed. I don't think we have to argue that point anymore. I think it's been pretty well, not that I was arguing with him, but it's been pretty well demonstrated. You know, Twitch can help fund scientific fieldwork. Yeah, I'm excited to present on this sort of thing at future scientific meetings, you know? Be able to talk about, you know, live streaming and crowdfunding and how platforms like Twitch can actually help us advance the science of paleontology. It's pretty cool, you know? It's a wonderful feeling to be kind of on that frontier, you know, finding new methods of funding and outreach and everything else. It's it makes me excited. Yeah. And Wiles Paley says, are you streaming with one phone and watching the comments with another? No, I'm so this is my phone right here on my arm, but this is a Sony Action Cam and a custom 3D printed like case holder thing on top of a selfie stick, and then I've got a fuzzy microphone. Well, I've got a Rode shotgun mic on top that's wired in, and then I've got a wind weasel on top of that fuzzy thing. Yeah, and there's a few other bits of equipment and everything too. We've got the mobile encoder right here from Live View, and there's a battery pack hooked up to that, and honestly, it's a whole thing. It gets kind of complicated, but yeah, I couldn't just use a phone. That wouldn't work out here. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Oh, and SV Harkin says, make sure you include accessibility for those of you who cannot dig. There you go, yeah. It's important to talk about these things, for sure. Yeah, and at Moose Ramowski, we get to be a tiny little part of it just by watching. How cool is that? There you go. Yeah. And not tiny little part, actually a huge part. We would not be out here right now in this capacity if it were not for generous donations by viewers. We were able to raise about $7,000 you know, through an experiment.com fundraiser, and that's almost entirely from viewers of Paleontologizing. So again, deeply grateful for that. Yeah. Fedorasaur says, I hope you save all these VODs for YouTube later, Danny. Really great stuff. Thank you, Fedorasaur. I'm going to. I actually need to respond to one of Claire's emails about that, because I'm going to have Claire upload a bunch of VODs and stuff. And yeah. So Alex says, how do you charge that setup out there in the field? Solar panels. We did a fundraiser for me to buy some solar panels and a solar generator. So that's how we're doing that. Yeah. It's kind of funny because we've got, you know, solar power and wireless internet via satellite in camp. No running water, no electricity aside from the solar stuff. No toilet or anything. We're all pooping into a bucket when we get back to camp. So yeah, it's an interesting contrast there. Yeah. But yeah. What is the YouTube channel? Somebody type in socials or whatever. A command. There you go. Yeah. So yeah. And not the same bucket we found from the 30s. No, this is a plastic bucket with a little seat on it and a trash bag inside. And you sprinkle some kitty litter over it. Make sure it doesn't smell too much. But yep, here comes our storm clouds. That looks like it's going to pass west of us, to the west and to the south. So it shouldn't really hit us, but it will block out our light. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. And yeah, those clouds, I know, right, Fedora Star? big ol'... Oh, do you see that lightning? Yeah. We've got lightning, boys. Let's see when the thunder comes. I haven't been counting. Yeah, what is it, Terrence? Like you count the number of seconds and divide by 7, and that's the number of miles away it is?
1 Mississippi is pretty good, but yeah, I don't know the exact number.
Oh, okay.
I am afraid that this is heading our way-ish, or starting to, so I've texted you.
Okay, cool.
It's 5:45.
Right, it looks like it's mostly just moving west. It might pass to the south of us without hitting us.
Mostly north, actually, but it's starting to turn north.
Oh, sorry, that is north. Yeah, west is that way. Apologies. Shoot. Okay. Well, I think it might be as good a time as any to wrap up this stream, so let's go ahead and do that. And we might have to close up the site here. Again, it looks like it's passing to the north, but can't be too careful about these things. So let's find somebody to raid into. And yep, here comes that wind. Yeah. Who else have we got live on Twitch right now? Let's go to watch. And let's see here.
Basically, it's a supercell at this point.
Why don't we go right into Melissa in Denial, perhaps? There we go. Let's see. Melissa in Denial. She'll be thrilled to have 300 people show up. She's an archaeologist. Not a paleontologist, but yeah, she works on ancient human civilizations, especially ancient Egyptian stuff. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun in her stream. So let's get that started. I gotta go to the Twitch app in order to activate that, I guess. There, my channel, chat. There we go. Yeah, good stuff. So everybody, yeah, you're really going to enjoy her stuff. She's got like 11 people watching right now, so this is going to be just a tsunami of viewership, and I think she'll really appreciate it. So yeah. Anyway, good stuff, everybody. I will stream the next time that I can, weather and work permitting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for your generous support and your enthusiasm and your viewership. And I hope to see you soon. All right, wish us some luck with this storm here. And, yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye, everybody.